Welcome to Detroit, Michigan on a beautiful 79-degree evening as the Detroit Tigers host the Cleveland Indians in the second of a day-night doubleheader on Negro Leagues Tribute Weekend here in Detroit. A check of the American League Central Division standings. Indians in first place by 2 games over Kansas City and Minnesota. Detroit just 6 back. And a good evening, everybody. Welcome to Baseball Night in America. Kenny Albert with Tom Verducci will be joined by J.P. Morosi as well. Tigers scored 3 runs in the 7th inning to win the first game earlier today, 7-4. And for the Tigers, Tom, Miguel Cabrera went deep for the 3rd time in his last 4 games.
Well, anytime the Indians play the Tigers, job number 1 is to contain Miguel Cabrera. Well, you might as well call that mission impossible. We saw that again in game number 1 when Mickey took this sinker from Josh Tomlin out of the ballpark. Look at these career numbers. Amazing, especially when considering that's about the equivalent of 1 full season. Now, the job is more difficult than ever right now because Miguel Cabrera is hot with 3 home runs in his last 4 games.
And the man who will try and slow down Miguel Cabrera tonight in game 2 is Indian starter Carlos Carrasco. He's been outstanding on the road this season. 6 road victories, tied for the major league lead.
And you know, Kenny, with Detroit, it's not just about Cabrera. It's about trying to neutralize all the right-handed power in the lineup. Carrasco has that kind of stuff to do it. In fact, his right-on-right breaking stuff is among the very best in the game. .217 average against righties, only 4 home runs allowed. Now, the Indians love this guy against anybody. When they hand him the ball this year, Cleveland is 12-3.
Carrasco and Jordan Zimmerman, the pitching matchup on Baseball Night in America from Detroit. The Tigers and the Indians coming up on Fox. Back in Detroit on a beautiful 79-degree evening, partly cloudy skies as we get set for the Tigers and the Indians. Terry Francona's Indians come in with a record of 42-37. Jason Kipnis will lead off. Kipnis, Lindor, Brantley, then Encarnacion, Ramirez, Chisenhall, Santana, Zimmer, Perez. Indians get set to face 31-year-old right-hander Jordan Zimmerman, who makes his 16th start this season for Detroit.
I keep an eye on the fastball. It's a key for me. Command, I call them fastball mistakes, is the issue, not velocity. Mistakes in the zone with the fastball. Telltale tilt, keep an eye on the slider. When it's working, it'll have a downward tilt. Lately, it's been flat too often. And keep an eye when he's in the windup. He's been much tougher with bases empty out of the stretch than he's been out of the windup.
Tigers wearing the uniforms of the Detroit Stars, a charter member of the Negro National League, as Jason Kipnis takes a called strike, and the Indians in the uniforms of the Cleveland Buckeyes of the Negro American League back in the 1940s. Kipnis fouls off the second pitch, falls behind 0-2. He was 0 for 3 with an RBI in the first game this afternoon. Kipnis 4 for 5 lifetime against Jordan Zimmerman. The 0-2 from Zimmerman. Romine moving to his right, makes the catch on the warning track to retire Kipnis, one away. Defensively for the Tigers around the infield, Cabrera, Kinsler, Iglesias, Castellanos. In the outfield from left to right, Romine, Matuk, and Martinez. The battery of Zimmerman and Avila. Justin Upton out of the lineup for the second straight game, battling some soreness in his right side. Not playing the opener. Ball 1 to Francisco Lindor.
So Andrew Romine is the one who has to battle the sun for a quote-unquote night game. And there's an interesting explanation for that. This ballpark actually violates in spirit a Major League Baseball rule that states the line between home plate and second base should run east-northeast. This runs east-southeast, the most southward facing ballpark in baseball, so left field is the sun field here. And right now, I'd say the first inning or two, it'll be very difficult. They started that rule, by the way. Most hitters are right-handed. They figured right field would get the least amount of balls, and they'd have the sun set in that direction.
So when did that rule first come into play?
It's been around a long time. Of course, for this ballpark, the setting is just spectacular because it brings downtown into the ballpark. There's people fighting the sun as well. You see the skyline. Love the fact they built this ballpark below street level. Really feels intimate.
Pop foul off to the left side as we head downstairs for more on the geography of Comerica Park. JP Morosi.
Bring in the Michigan guy, right, Kenny? Here we go. But yes, we wanted to look south and see the beautiful skyline of downtown Detroit. And as we look south, my friends, toward Canada. Yes, Windsor is south of this ballpark. Happy Canada Day to our viewers in that great country as well.
Celebrating birthday number 150 today. Now the 2-2. So Lindor down on strikes. Now 2 away.
Not only a swing and a miss, but watch the follow through by Lindor. Hits the helmet of Avila. Of course, he's got that long, terrible history of concussions. And you can see how he gets hit. He stays up in that stance. You know, Sal Perez, big catcher as well, got hit so often they actually changed the way that he caught the baseball to have him drop his head when he catches the ball. Try to keep it out of harm's way.
Strike 1 to Michael Brantley. Brantley 1 for 4 in the opener. The Indians and Tigers were postponed last night due to rain. That game will be made up in September. A day-night doubleheader today due to a postponement back on May 4th.
Big week for the Tigers. 6 of these 9 games here against the Cleveland Indians. They made up 1 game so far, 6 to go.
Tigers with the win earlier today, pulling to within 6 games of first place Cleveland in the American League Central. Rod Ausmus, Tigers skipper. A 1-2 from Zimmerman to Brantley. Matuk moving to his right, makes the play. A 1-2-3, 13 pitch first inning for Jordan Zimmerman. First inning, Tigers with a record of 36-43. Ian Kinsler will lead off, then Avila, J.D. Martinez, Cabrera, Castellanos, Victor Martinez, Matuk, Romine, Iglesias. As the Tigers face 30-year-old right-hander Carlos Carrasco, record of 8-3 in 15 starts this season.
Well, his secondary stuff is so good. I call it secondary is primary. Slider, curveball, changeup, all outstanding. Put away pitcher. When you've got 2 strikes against Carrasco, you're almost as good as gone. Batting average in those spots, 110. And no running allowed. This guy's allowed just 1 stolen base this year. And you'll notice right now, even with nobody on base, he will be pitching from the stretch. Did that a couple of years ago to simplify things.
Carrasco in his 8th season with the Indians. 7-7 lifetime against the Tigers. Ian Kinsler leads off, 1 for 5 in the opener earlier today. Kinsler, Avila, and J.D. Martinez for Detroit here in the bottom of the first inning.
I don't know if Brantley is following the scouting report in left field, but he did pick a spot, a sliver of shade. Found the shadow of the light tower out there. You can see that is a tough see right now from left field to the plate.
Sure is.
A lot of daylight also, Kenny, when you're this far west in the Eastern time zone.
I looked out the window in my hotel room last night about 9:30. Couldn't believe how light it was.
The days are long.
Two balls, two strikes. Avila waiting on deck. Shallow right. Chisenhall, one away. We mentioned in our open, Carrasco is tied for the major league lead in road wins with 6. Terrific earned run average. Just 2-2 at home this season. Indians actually have a better record on the road than in Cleveland.
It's very odd. Minnesota has done the same thing in the AL Central. I would not be able to give you one particular reason why they've struggled so much at home. You figure that has to even out over the course of the second half of the season.
Well, how about the Indians series with the Twins this year? They've played 13 times. The visiting team has won 12 of the 13 games. Here's Avila, 5 for 17 with a home run lifetime against Carrasco. Did not play in the opener today.
Tremendous power to left center field. Rarely pulls the ball. In fact, I would play him more towards the left side as if he were a right-handed hitter in the outfield. Talked to Alex about his ability to hit the ball the other way. I said, I can't imagine you getting out front of too many pitches. And he said, I think I've probably hit 1 or 2 balls to the right field corner all year.
The 0-2 from Carrasco, missing away, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The reason Carrasco is so tough with 2 strikes, he's got so many weapons to go to. Especially against the lefties, the changeup is nasty.
He's 9th in the league in strikeouts. 2-2.
That was the breaking ball right there. Go slider, curve, or changeup. Fastball is the one pitch he has that does get hit.
Avila took Carrasco deep back in mid-April in Cleveland.
There you go, big difference. It's all about getting ahead for Carrasco so he can get to the off-speed pitches. He gets behind and has to go fastball. That's when he gets hit. That's when he's susceptible to the home run ball.
Carrasco wins the battle. 2 away.
Just a nasty breaking ball. I mean, if you're Detroit, you want to be super aggressive with a pitcher with 3 put-away pitches. Stay out of the 2-strike scenario. Easier said than done, of course. But there's just too much to cover, too much movement when you're facing Carrasco with 2 strikes.
So with 2 away, here's J.D. Martinez, who went deep in the opener earlier today in the 3rd inning. Back-to-back with Cabrera. First pitch, ground ball to the left side. Could not be handled by the shortstop Lindor.
Just a little careless, didn't love his footwork right here. Ball does come up a little bit and hit the heel. Now that's normally a play he can make blindfolded.
Fifth error committed by Lindor this season. Tigers have a 2-out base runner. 4. Man, you talked about in our open with unbelievable career numbers against the Cleveland Indians.
It's crazy what he's done to Cleveland. They know it, of course. You almost have to pitch to him as if it's a 2-strike count when he steps in the box. Be very careful. Like that. There's no such thing as a get-me-over fastball to Miguel Cabrera.
.297 lifetime average against Carrasco. 11 hits in 37 at-bats for Cabrera with 1 home run. Martinez takes his lead off first. And Cabrera pops it foul off to the right side. 0-2. Our Just for Men stat of the night. Highest career OPS against the Indians. 4th on the all-time list.
How about that company, huh? 45 home runs against Cleveland. The Babe had a mere 92.
Cabrera reaches out and flies out to the right fielder Chisenhall to end the inning. We head to the second in Detroit. Sponsored by Sprint. Works for me. Back in Detroit on Baseball Night in America. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, J.P. Morosi. Top of the second inning, Edwin Encarnacion leads off against Jordan Zimmerman to retire the Indians in order in the first inning. Strike 1. Encarnacion, a 3-time All-Star, leading the Indians with 17 home runs, 0 for 3 in today's opener. Zimmerman with the toss to Miguel Cabrera to retire. Encarnacion 1 away.
This is the tilt I'm talking about on the Zimmerman slider right here. When he's on, he gets that downward movement, that late downward movement. When he hasn't been on, it looks more like a cutter, just kind of horizontal cut across the plate without the tilt. It's a good sign. Get ahead with fastballs, get him out with the slider.
Now facing Jose Ramirez. What a season he has had for the Indians, batting .446 over his last 18 games, .320 overall. 1-2.
Now this is classic Jordan Zimmerman so far. Working quickly. Heavy dosage of fastballs early on. I would not throw this guy another fastball though, but he is.
Right center. Ramirez retired. 2 away.
I said that because Ramirez is such a good fastball hitter. You give him the look at the same pitch multiple times in a row. He can adjust, but good location here. We talked about mistakes Zimmerman's making with location. It's a great 2-strike fastball upstairs. Keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate so far.
5 up, 5 down for the Indians as Lonnie Chisenhall steps in. One for 4 in the opener, drove in a run. Chisenhall leading the Indians with 44 runs batted in on the season. What a month of June it was for the middle of the Indians order.
Chisenhall's having a really good year. What I noticed about Lonnie is more patient at the plate, taking some more pitches, getting himself into better counts as he does right here. And he's hit a few more fly balls. The difference, though, more fly balls are actually going out of the yard. I'd like to see him take a swing right here. 2 outs, bases empty, 3-0. He's taken all the way. A lot of the Cleveland players do not like hitting 3-0. That's a full-on take right there. Got exactly what he would have been looking for.
And now the 3-1. In for a called strike. Count is full. Chisenhall draws a 2-out walk. First base runner of the night for the Indians.
That's a great take. 3-2 slider. Good pitch as well. Watch, this is in the zone until the end when it's out of the zone, and Lonnie just spat on it. On balance. That's the picture of a guy who's seeing the ball well. Could spin on a 3-2 slider like that on balance.
So Chisenhall on at first, 2 away, Carlos Santana. Santana went deep in the opener, his 10th of the year. 2 for 4, drove in a couple of runs. One and one.
That's that home run you were talking about. Fastball up and away. Took it out the other way. They need to get this guy going. Such a big part when they got hot last year out of the leadoff spot. There's a lot of power down there sitting in the 7-hole right now.
Two one to Santana. 2-2.
Two strikes now. They move third baseman Castellanos over to the right side. Full shift on. For that, they were honoring the possibility of a bunt. Santana does have 1 bunt hit this year.
2-2 from Zimmerman. Bounce foul off to the right side.
So you want to know why guys hit more balls in the air, right? You look at the way they're defending Carlos Santana. Obviously, he's a pull hitter. I mean, he must look up there, and it seems like there's 55 guys on the right side of the field. Where can you get a hit? There's not a lot of open grass there, especially anything on the ground. So this is why left-handed hitters, when they face the shift, are hitting more balls in the air. Don't try to hit through it. Try to hit over it. You know, the shift doesn't always work, Kenny. It giveth and it taketh. But to me, the one part of the game it really has changed is left-handed hitters who do not have speed, where you can play that rover position and cover so much ground on the right side of the field. There's no question that it's really harmed batting average for those type of left-handed hitters. David Ortiz told me it probably cost him about 600 career hits. And I think he was exaggerating. Not that Big Papi is prone to do anything larger than life, but I got the point.
Maybe 60.
I would agree with that. I'd take the over on that.
Two from Zimmerman. Full count.
Yeah, rare changeup right there from Zimmerman. Will not throw many in the course of a game, and you won't see him against right-handers, but just trying to get Santana off balance a little bit. Back to the fastball away.
Called strike 3. Second strikeout for Zimmerman to end the inning. E-Trade, the original place to invest online. Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. Bottom of the second inning in Detroit as Nick Castellanos leads off against Carlos Carrasco. Castellanos 3 hits in the opener today, including a double and a triple. Drove in a run. Now leads the American League with 5 triples. Tripled in the go-ahead run for the Tigers in the bottom of the 7th inning after the Indians had tied the game at 4.
It's a good ballpark for triples. He hit his off the diagonal wall you see out here in right center field. Took advantage of the carom to get himself an extra base. Deep center field, 420 feet to straightaway center field. That's the deepest. Now that they removed Tal's Hill in Houston.
Right.
That is the most expansive center field in baseball. Terry Francona telling us he's glad he's got Bradley Zimmer in center field. Those long legs, he covers a lot of ground. It's not unusual to see swings like that on that slider from Carrasco. Again, we said it at the top. Right on right breaking stuff, as nasty as you will find.
The 2-2 from Carrasco. Count is full.
Kenny, my one of the major indications when a pitcher's got really good stuff, gets hitters off balance, how many times did the top hand come off the bat? That's when you know you've succeeded in getting the hitter out in front. Carrasco does that with 3 different pitches. Right there, did it again. Not a comfortable place to be. We talked about this. 2 strikes to Carrasco. We talked about that batting average against with 2 strikes, 110. That is the lowest among American League starters. There's Carlos Martinez and Max Scherzer in the National League slightly ahead. And teammate Corey Kluber tied with Carrasco, lowest in the American League. They do it in a very similar way. The ability to spin the baseball. Extraordinary.
8th pitch of the at-bat to Castellanos. And he drills it into left field. It rolls to the wall. Another extra base hit for Nick Castellanos, who had 2 in the opener today.
What a terrific at-bat. He basically waited out Carrasco, and Carrasco blinked first and said, okay, I'll throw you a fastball. And he's all over it. Well, he's coming off an extremely impressive June in which he hit over 300. Andrew Brad Alsman was telling us yesterday he has the ability to be a star, a big star. Think about this, Kenny. He's only 25. Game 1 of this doubleheader was his 500th career game. You have that many games at that young of an age, you've got a lot of ability.
So a leadoff double for Castellanos here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. And now Carrasco will face the ex-Indian Victor Martinez. Martinez 1 for 3 in the opener. He scored 2 runs. The double by Castellanos, first hit of the game on either side.
See how shallow Zimmer is playing in center field as a runner and third base coach. Have to pay attention.
Martinez retired, 1 away.
Something you have to do before every pitch. Check the location of the outfielders.
How deep is this yard in center field? Mikey Maytook covered just about all of it until he finally ran out of room and somehow held onto this ball. Look at the ball, hits the heel of his glove, slams against the wall, and manages to hold onto it. And yeah, even Sal Perez, who hit it, is a tip of the cap.
Justin Verlander excited about it. There's Justin. Montook out of LSU, 27 years of age. 2 for 4 in the opener, drove in a run.
Confident player who's essentially won the center field job right now on an everyday basis. I want you to watch the way he grips the bat in the batter's box. It tells me there's no anxiety. That right hand will stay off the bat nice and loose. Fingers stay off the bat. That's a relaxed position right there. A lot of times you see young players in that batter's box. A lot of mannerisms and ticks, moving parts. Like he's fairly quiet up there.
The 0-2 from Carrasco.
Just as the pitcher starts to uncoil, that's when he gets the grip on the bat. Actually had a pitch to hit right there. A few sliders so far that Carrasco has left up.
Castellanos, the runner on second, 1 out. The 0-2 missing low and away, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Carrasco's searching right now. Talked about his put away pitches. That slider right now, unable to put away Castellanos. So far 2 tries at Maytook, not working. We saw him give in to Castellanos with a fastball. I still would not recommend that right here. This is where the game has really slowed down. When runners get on second base, it's interminable. Perez has gone through the signs twice already. Next thing you know, we'll get a visit to the mound. How about a 3rd time?
Montook reaches out, singles into right field. Castellanos around third, heading home. He will score. Tigers take a 1-0 lead.
Well, Well, he did stay with the breaking ball, got a little bit unlucky, but I'm certainly not a big fan of the sequence there. No rhythm at all for the pitcher. This one stayed up, excuse me. Okay, I'll take that. And it just soft enough so that there's not even an attempt at the runner at the plate. Communication.
16th run batted in of the season for Mikey Matuk. Still only one out. Andrew Romine at the plate. Check swing as we check in with JP.
Well, Kenny, Andrew Romine has a brother in the major leagues, Austin Romine, who last night had 2 base hits against Astros righty Lance McCullers Jr. Andrew texted him and said, "Hey, bro, great game. That was amazing." Austin said, "Yeah, I used your bat. Please send more."
Austin of the New York Yankees. My dad, Kevin, former Major League ball player with the Red Sox.
Let's see, whose bat is he using? Hopefully it's his own. Came well recommended. So that's a literal bro text then, huh? Text your brother, "Hey bro."
Austin Romine, Andrew's brother, is a catcher. As we take a look, Andrew is using his own bat. Last year, Andrew Romine played 8 different positions for the Tigers. He even pitched. The only position he did not play, catcher. His brother's primary position.
I'm sure bro will give him some lessons.
The 1-2. Popped up. 2 out. So now the number 9 hitter for the Tigers, Jose Iglesias. 2 for 4 in the opener, drove in 2 runs. Has a 4-game hitting streak. One run on 2 hits in the inning for the Tigers. Castellanos, a leadoff double. Driven home by Matuk.
Iglesias is a very good contact hitter. You can get him to chase, though. Very aggressive hitter. Once again, really the running game not in order against Carrasco. 1 stolen base against him. He used to pitch out of the windup, but almost as a failed starter, they put him in the bullpen. And when he went there, he liked it so much. Not pitching in relief, but actually pitching out of the stretch and being aggressive against hitters. He decided he's going to start and stay with the stretch position. Yu Darvish is another guy who does that.
Two-one, foul back to the screen, 2-2.
And I get the fact that you always want to do what you're most comfortable with, but to me, you lose the opportunity to have some deception. You don't have a full windup as a starting pitcher. Carlos has a very clean, simple delivery out of the stretch position.
26th pitch of the inning from Carrasco. So that will do it for the Tigers in the second, but they take a 1-0 lead as Castellanos crossed the plate. Derby competition in the official MLB.com Home Run Derby game on the App Store and Google Play. Swing for the fences against more than 10 million players from around the world as your favorite Derby All-Star. Download Home Run Derby for free today. Bradley Zimmer leads off for the Indians here in the top of the third inning against Jordan Zimmerman. Zimmer against Zimmerman. We talked to Terry
Yeah.
We talked to Terry Francona yesterday. He could not be more excited about his young center fielder.
Oh, he's so impressive. That thing that jumps out to me, discipline at the plate. Does have a little swing and miss in his game, but I like his approach at the plate. And much more athletic than you would think, given he's 6'5". Back to a breaking ball, got him right there. Good curveball from Zimmerman to Zimmer. This ball is not in the zone until the very last instant. Nice job by Avila framing it. His fingers come around the side of the baseball, the pronation, follow through.
Third strikeout for Zimmerman. First pitch to Roberto Perez. 0-1.
Zimmerman's been on the edge of the plate, but Avila, including right there, has been doing a very good job framing these pitches.
The 0-1 to Perez. Ball one. 2-1 from Zimmerman. Missing high and away, now 3-1. With Jason Kipnis waiting on deck.
So far, so good for Zimmerman. He's coming off a clunker of a start in his last game against San Diego. In fact, his last 2 starts, Kenny, he walked 3 batters. He had not walked 3 batters in back-to-back starts since 2010. This is a guy of normally very good command, attacks with fastballs, works quickly. That was more out of the ordinary to be walking batters as he did his last 2 starts.
He's the active leader in fewest walks per 9 innings.
A lot of that is because of this pitch right here. Should be a challenge pitch. No, breaking ball.
Perez gets the bat on it. Right center. Catch is made by Mata for out number 2.
Second time we've seen Jordan throw a 3-2 slider. Talked about one good sign is the tilt on that pitch. That's another good sign. And that's your go-to pitch in a full count. Once again, watch the location. Tilt and location. Spot on.
So with 2 down, here's Kipnis. Flight out to the left fielder Romine on the warning track, leading off the game. Kipnis flies out to Romine for the second time. A 1-2-3 third inning for Jordan Zimmerman. 1-0 Tigers. Back in Detroit, We take you back to Thursday. Corey Kluber's last start, finishing off a tremendous month of June with 12 strikeouts. Record of 4-0 for the month. Earned run average of 1.26 with 64 strikeouts. And we are joined live by the 2014 American League Cy Young Award winner. Corey, thanks for joining us as Ian Kinsler leads off against Carlos Carrasco here in the bottom of the third inning. So, Corey, day-night doubleheader today for a starting pitcher who was not involved in either game. What's the day like?
I think it's long for everybody, but it's probably a little bit more boring for me. Luckily, I guess I had a side today, so I was able to throw that in between games to break it up a little bit.
Kinsler flying to right. His first time up, fouls it off.
Hey, Corey, I never know whether to call that breaking ball of yours a slider or a curveball. It doesn't matter. I'll call it the thing. But I noticed you're throwing at career high percentage this year. We saw Trevor Bauer mixing a lot more curveballs his start the other day. How much do you go by analytics? How much do you go by the feel of the pitch?
I think it's probably a combination of both. You know, I think that part of it is also probably a little bit of a carryover from the postseason last year. You know, I think we kind of went with the approach of we're going to use our best pitches, you know, throughout the postseason. I think we've kind of carried that over to now because we saw the, you know, when we execute those pitches, we can have a chance for pretty good success.
So what is that pitch, by the way? What do you call it?
I call it a breaking ball, so I don't know. I guess I don't know which one it is either.
I've heard it called other things by hitters, but I won't go into that.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about your batting average with 2 strikes, batting average against, the same as Carlos Carrasco down at 110. I see some similarities between the two of you, Corey. Do you guys kind of crib notes sometimes in terms of working against lineups?
Now and then. I think that we each have our own plan to attack guys, but I think that we all definitely talk to each other, you know, especially if one of us sees something, you know, the night they pitched, and, you know, we'll go to it for the guy that's pitching the next day.
Alex Avila at the plate, struck out his first time up with 1 out. Bottom of the third inning as we chat with Corey Kluber live from the Indians dugout. So, Corey, the All-Star game coming up in 10 days. You were there last July. You pitched a perfect second inning. What was the whole experience like for you? What were some of the biggest highlights when you think back to the All-Star game?
Yeah, I mean, the whole couple days is fun. Being able to be on the field and watch the home run derby was definitely exciting. I mean, the balls they were hitting were going places I didn't imagine baseball's being able to hit to, but also just being able to be in a clubhouse with all those different great players was a pretty cool experience.
How about as a kid, Corey? Did you have any All-Star games or certain players that stood out to you that you remember?
I was a big fan of Pedro Martinez growing up, so I think the All-Star game in Boston when he went the 2 innings where he struck out like 5 guys or something like that, that one probably sticks out a little bit.
Have you ever asked your manager what it was like during his days with Pedro?
No, I haven't. I guess I probably should. He talks about him personality-wise. I haven't talked to him about managing him, though.
I'm sure he's got some good stories.
I'm sure he does.
He gave us a scare a little bit this week when he had to leave a game. He got checked out. All good now, clean bill of health. But what about the concern for among the players when your manager has to leave during the course of a game?
Yeah, that's obviously something that you never want to run into. I mean, you know, luckily we have somebody like Millsy to fill in if that situation does arise, and you know, I think he did a great job that night. You know, that was a big win for us to be able to come back from that big deficit and stuff. But obviously Tito's health is first and foremost, so you know, it's nice to see him feeling back to his normal self.
Avila draws a 1-out walk. First walk issued by Carlos Carrasco. As J.D. Martinez steps to the plate. Well, Corey, double-digit strikeouts, 4 consecutive starts for you. First Indian pitcher to ever do that in one season. Bob Feller did it over 2 consecutive seasons back in 38 and 39, but certainly at the top of your game during the month of June. Must feel pretty good to you out there on the mound.
Yeah, it's nice to get on a roll. I mean, obviously, you know, when you're on one of those kind of rolls, you try to do you know, everything the same that you did previous start, and just kind of try to keep it rolling. And when things do get a little bit out of whack, hopefully that feeling that you're searching for isn't too far away, and you can reel it back in pretty quickly.
J.D. Martinez reached on an error his first time up. Now, Corey, you and your wife Amanda had 2 daughters. You welcomed your first son, Camden, over the last year. Has he picked up a baseball yet?
Yeah, I've put a couple baseballs in his hand, and he'll just drop them immediately. It might be a little bit too heavy for him right now.
Did you put it in the right hand or the left hand?
Try to put everything in his left hand.
1-1 to Martinez. Base hit into center field. Corey, thanks for taking a couple of minutes. Continued success.
Thanks, guys.
Corey Kluber, the 2014 American League Cy Young Award winner, an All-Star last year, and the ace of this Indian staff, the reigning American League Player of the Week. Tigers threatening here in the third. Now have 2 on with only 1 out. And Miguel Cabrera at the plate.
By the way, that word you used, ace. He is a true ace. I think about Scherzer, Kershaw, Chris Sale, Corey Kluber. Those guys are the elite aces of the game right now.
And a very smart man, the right-hander, putting the baseball in the left hand of his young son, Camden. Cabrera fouls it back, 0-1.
That's a typical swing you see from Miggy. Fastballs with runners on base. He's going to let that ball get deep, hit it the other way. You go soft, he'll pull it. This ball's in a little bit. Watch him pull in his hands. Not thinking about pulling that pitch at all. Like a rare high 2-seamer from Carrasco. It's kitchen sink time to try to get this guy out.
Avila and J.D. Martinez, the base runners. 1 out, bottom of the 3rd inning.
So Perez look up at Miggy, trying to see if body language gives anything away.
A 1-2 from Carrasco, missing, low and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Tried to double up on that slider down and away. Just drifted farther outside. The temptation here is to go back in hard with Miguel Cabrera, knowing he's got that in to out approach. Just don't miss. Taking no chances. Saw Perez set up outside of the strike zone. 3 straight sliders. All balls. 1, you got the swing. This is not a good spot for a fastball. Stay with your strength right here.
Payoff pitch from Carrasco. Cabrera down on strikes, 2 away.
That's his strength. Sometimes being stubborn is a smart thing, and that was the case right here. Carrasco on Cabrera. Let's look at this pitch sequence here. Started him off, fastball in. That's the inside out swing. High sinker, which he rarely throws. Now, go-to time. Slider, slider, slider. And how about 4 for $1. Slider, the best one yet, right on the edge of the plate. Never want to give in to a hitter, but especially a great hitter like Cabrera. He did not give in.
So with 2-on-2 out, Castellanos takes strike one.
Kenny, this is what we talked to Corey Kluber about. The fact, yeah, that was a breaking ball, Miggy. The fact that the Indians are throwing so many breaking balls. I noticed in the postseason, throughout the postseason, they destroyed Toronto with breaking balls. They used the same tactic against Chicago. They brought that into this season. I mean, this is like facing a pitching machine. You set the pitching machine on slider, and there's no mystery. The Indians have turned complimentary pitches into feature pitches. The book always was pitch off your fastball. The Indians, especially when they need to make a pitch off the breaking ball.
The 0-2 to Castellanos. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I don't know that I've seen 7 sliders in a row before. I saw Trevor Hoffman throw 6 consecutive changeups. I think he's like, what is going on here? Can somebody please throw us a fastball once?
Castellanos strikes out to end the inning. So the Tigers strand 2. Big strikeout of Cabrera, and then Castellanos by Carlos Carrasco. Is sponsored by BMW. We only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. And by Cricket Wireless, something to smile about. Back in Detroit on Baseball Night in America. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, J.P. Morosi. As we move to the 4th, Tigers with a 1-0 lead. Francisco Lindor leads off for the Indians against Jordan Zimmerman, who was allowed only 1 base runner over the first 3 innings. Lindor struck out his first time up. Takes ball one.
Well, this guy's gone through his first slump of his young career. Too good of a hitter to be hitting .249. And the difference for me, Kenny, is I think he grew some home run muscles, hit some balls out of the park early this season, and started searching for more.
15 home runs last year, represented the Indians in the All-Star game.
Well, here's the difference. You want to go back to last year, watch him get on top of the baseball with the flatter swing. This year, getting underneath the ball, letting that barrel drop a little bit, trying to get the ball in the air more. And he certainly is getting the ball in the air more. A guy who hit about 29% fly balls last year is now over 40% fly balls. There's the number right there, 43%. It's not to say hitting fly balls are not the way to go, but for me, Lindor is a gap power hitter. Should be hitting more line drives.
Fastball in for a called strike 3. Fourth strikeout for Jordan Zimmerman. Lindor down on strikes for the second time tonight. With one away, here's Michael Brantley flying to center his first time up. The 0-1 to Brantley. Ripped foul, 0-2.
Zimmerman has a very nice rhythm going to the velo right now. That foul ball will get him off the mound a little bit, but in general, no shakeoffs. Has not been leaving the rubber area. Get the ball and go. They are on the same page.
The 0-2 to Brantley just missed. Zimmerman, 7 seasons with the Washington Nationals. Second season here in Detroit. Won a career high 19 games. Tied for the National League lead back in 2013. Represented Washington in 2 All-Star games. And there's the first hit of the night for the Indians as Brantley singles to right. Last 4 seasons with the Nationals, a .644 winning percentage. Earned run average of just over 3.
Well, don't forget, it was considered a risk when they signed him to that deal. 5 years, $110 million, because he had Tommy John surgery back in 2009. And Al Avila, at the time, the general manager at the time of the signing, recognized that risk and said, hey, listen, Tommy John surgeries are basically good on average about 8 to 12 years. Some people think less, about 7. And he's probably about a 10-year average. So that puts him in the window of getting what they call a revision, a second Tommy John surgery, and those can be the end of careers when you get Tommy John surgery for the second time. Jordan was the first of what no doubt will be many pitchers who get more than $100 million post Tommy John surgery. Of course, his former teammate with the Nationals, Steven Strasburg, has followed him, gone well beyond that in terms of dollars. Soon Yu Darvish will be on the market. Really, we're entering the first generation of these pitchers who've had the surgery so young. They're getting on the free agent market with rebuilt elbows. It used to be an injury of attrition. You got it later in your career, as Tommy John, the original, did. Now, because pitchers throw so hard, they get it early.
Two and one on Encarnacion, who bounced back to Zimmerman back in the second inning. Brantley, the runner on first with one out. 2-2.
This is the preferred spot for Jordan to throw that slider down and away.
Encarnacion pops it into right. Martinez makes the catch for out number 2.
And he beat him in with a fastball.
Jordan Zimmerman grew up in Wisconsin. Attended Division III Wisconsin Stevens Point. He was a walk-on initially. He pitched his final season of college with his jaw wired shut. He was hit by a line drive during batting practice. Spent 2 months wearing braces, 20 rubber bands in his mouth. Jaw wired shut during his final collegiate season.
It's a coach's dream, though. Very quiet. He doesn't say much more now.
No.
He is Mr. Business. The demeanor you see on the mound, that's the way he goes about his job. Workmanlike. And when things are going well, he's in attack mode as he is tonight.
Only 2 base runners to this point for the Indians.
Now, the hit and run is a dying play in baseball, but this is a combination that could work for Tito Francona. He told us sometimes just to get the defense moving with a good hitter, ground ball hitter, open up a hole. I was kidding with Terry Francona about you rarely see the hit and run play anymore. There's so much swing and miss in the game. Really, everybody talks about the speed of the runner. That really doesn't factor into hit and runs. The 2 elements that are most important is the pitcher around the plate, because the hitter is committed to swing, so wild pitcher doesn't make too much sense to hit and run. And can your hitter make contact? Are you confident in your hitter's ability to make contact? Well, both those elements certainly in play right here.
The 0-2 to Ramirez. Romine in left. That will do it for the Indians in the 4th. Detroit on Baseball Night in America as Victor Martinez steps in to lead off against Carlos Carrasco. Martinez popped out to the shortstop Lindor, his first time up. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it off, 0-1. Martinez, a 5-time All-Star, now 38 years of age. Began his career with the Indians. He is 5 hits shy of 2,000 for his major league career. Bounce to the right side, 1 away. Well, tomorrow on ESPN, it's the Esurance All-Star Selection Show. Then on July 9th, the Sirius XM All-Star Futures Game on MLB Network, followed by the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN July 10th. All leading up to the All-Star Game July 11th, just 10 days from now on Fox. Here's Mikey Matuk. Singled in a run his first time up. Back in the second inning. Matuk with a drive into the gap in left center. It rolls to the wall. His second hit of the game. A stand-up double for Matuk.
Say he's taking control of the center field job and continuing to do so. Again, the difference, Carrasco, between fastball and off-speed pitches is enormous. When you do get a fastball, do not let it pass. Matuk did not.
Second two-base hit of the game for the Tigers. Castellanos doubled leading off the second. And he came around to score the game's only run. Here's Romine, who popped out to the third baseman Ramirez his first time up, using his own bat.
Well, maybe he switched to his brother's bat. Pop-up was obviously the bat's fault.
Here's the 0-1 to Romine. You know, Tom, speaking of home runs and the home run derby, yesterday was the last day of June. A new major league record for home runs in 1 month. 1,101, breaking the previous record set in May 2000. And check out the leaders in each of those months. So a new major league record.
A lot of the damage being done by young players, 25 and under.
Broken bat, foul off to the right side.
I told you that bat was no good.
So 21-year-old Cody Bellinger leading the way. In June of 2017, it was Mark McGwire and Mo Vaughn, 13 home runs apiece. Back in May 2000, the previous record for 1 month.
Yeah, well, we're certainly on an all-time record pace for the entire season. On pace to hit more than 6,000 home runs this year.
The 0-2 to Romine, fouled off down the left field line.
It's a game built on power, strikeouts and home runs. Starting pitchers no longer worried about pacing themselves. They sell out for strikeouts. And hitters figure you got 3 swings. Why not use them all to try to do damage?
Two away as Romine flies out to Brantley and left.
We're on a pace for, I think, about 18 players to hit 40 home runs this year. Wow. It was only 3 years ago. There was one, Nelson Cruz.
Aaron Judge, 25 years of age, leading the majors with 27 home runs. We mentioned Bellinger of the Dodgers. He's hit 24. He will turn 22 2 days after the All-Star game.
That's what's amazing to me. The young players just hit the ground running now. Impact hitters almost immediately in the big leagues.
Iglesias grounded to short his first time up. One and one on Iglesias.
Iglesias is very quick out of the right-hander batter's box. He puts pressure on infielders on softly hit ground balls. He will make you hurry.
They'll head down to first.
Looked like a two-seamer. Carrasco throws more four-seamers than two-seamers, and that two-seamer designed to run in on a right-hander just chased after Iglesias. You lose these two-seamers to the arm side, there's really not much a hitter can do. Oh, that happened to Trey Turner the other day. The Washington shortstop broke a bone in his hand.
So the Tigers now with 2 on, 2 out. Now, speaking of a broken bone in a hand, how about Carlos Carrasco? He did not pitch in the postseason for the Indians last October because he was hit by a line drive off the bat of the man at the plate right here, Ian Kinsler, in a game in mid-September.
Listen, if you're an Indians fan, you have a right to wonder if that play right there cost you the World Series. Because remember, the Indians and Terry Francona had to go to a 3-man rotation. And up 3-1, they pitched all their starters on short rest. And none of them, including Kluber, threw the ball well. The lack of a fourth starter really showed up at World Series time.
It was the second pitch of that game back on September 17th. The line drive hit by Kinsler. As Kinsler bounces it foul back behind third. That ended Carrasco's season. Broken right hand.
You can see, by the way, Carrasco finishes. The body starts to turn towards first base, where the glove really is not in position to protect him from something like that. If you're a pitcher, when you let that ball go, and you know it's a fastball up, away, outer third of the plate, watch the finish here. The glove behind him, the pivot to first base. Not in good position to be an infielder, but when you let that ball go outside third of the plate, a little bit up, you know it could come right back at you. Very simple delivery. There's really no movement in the hands until the ball comes out of the glove. Great deceleration. And there's that finish where he turns towards first base. Hit it to somebody else. That's what the body language tells you.
Tigers strand 2. 4 innings in the books in Detroit. 1-0 Tigers. FS1, can Allen Iverson get hot and lead Three's Company to victory over Mike Bibby and the Ghost Ballers? The Big Three continues Monday, 8 Eastern on FS1. Top of the 5th in Detroit. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, J.P. Morosi. Lonnie Chisenhall leading off for the Indians against Jordan Zimmerman. Only 2 Cleveland base runners over the first 4 innings. Nobody past first base. Chisenhall pops it up, 1 away. So now Carlos Santana will step to the plate. Struck out his first time up back in the 2nd inning. Tigers won the opener of this day-night doubleheader 7-4 this afternoon, scoring 3 runs in the 7th inning. Santana staring out at the mound, having words with Zimmerman.
I'm not going to read the mind of Jordan Zimmerman, but I will of Carlos Santana. He thought that was intentional. I can see why he thought that. On the night where Zimmerman has had pinpoint control of the fastball, that was right behind the hip of Santana. Not saying there was intent there, but clearly Santana is saying that.
There have been a couple of incidents between these teams over the past 2 seasons. Last September, Trevor Bauer hit 3 Tigers. Ian Kinsler suffered a concussion. And then this April, Tom, April 14th, with Bauer on the mound, Miguel Cabrera not happy with that pitch.
Yeah, so how do you get revenge? This is what you do. Don't charge the mound, hit one out. Definitely a history between these 2 teams, and then Iglesias getting hit by Carrasco. I thought intentionally that was not intentional hitting Iglesias, but Santana thought that one was intentional.
Here's Bradley Zimmer, called out on strikes his first time up.
Talked about this 2-seamer from Carrasco just getting away from him, clearly not trying to hit him. Look at the reaction by Carrasco. 2-seamer just comes out of the hand early and tracks the hitter. For Zimmerman, that's where your reputation as a strike thrower begins to work against you. Santana's thinking, you've got too good control to miss with a fastball like that. Game is played at a high level with high emotions. I don't blame Santana. You can say he overreacted. You stand up there. Take a look at 93, 94, whizzing by your hip.
Foul back to the screen, 2-2 on Zimmer with 1 out. Top of the 5th inning.
Expecting the ball out over the plate. That misses by a lot. 2 expect the baseball behind you like that.
Two from Zimmerman. Missing low and away. The count is full.
Let's see if Francona wants to start the runner here. I think his team could use a jolt right here. Be a little more aggressive, a little proactive.
Payoff pitch to Zimmer. And he grounds it to a 6-4-3 double play. Budweiser, proudly brewed across America. This Bud's for you. Some fireworks in the top half of the inning as Carlos Santana was hit by the pitch from Jordan Zimmerman. Bradley Zimmer then grounded into a double play, so Alex Avila will lead off for the Tigers here in the bottom half. Avila struck out in the first, threw a walk in the third.
Back to that double play with Zimmer. I would have started the runner, as I said. The offense is just a little bit in the doldrums, low energy type day. That's what it's been so far for Cleveland. Try to make something happen. Put your club in an aggressive posture. Maybe it doesn't work, but it could change the mindset. That's an angry mindset right there. He's still not over it. Get buzzed by Jordan Zimmerman.
2-1 from Carrasco. 2-2. Avila, then J.D. Martinez, then Miguel Cabrera for the Tigers here in the 5th. Detroit scored their run in the 2nd inning. Won the opener 7-4. This is between innings. The home plate umpire Tim Timmons out for a chat with Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah, apparently both teams were warned after that pitch that Zimmerman threw. The word that comes to mind with Avila is quiet at the plate. I asked him about that. He said, I've always hit this way. Very little movement, the pre-pitch setup, everything's quiet. He said, I go back and look at pictures when I was a kid in Little League, and everything is the same. He said, in fact, sometimes as a big leaguer, when I'm slumping, I'll look at those pictures when I'm 9 and 10 years old.
Avila strikes out for the 2nd time.
That was a good call by Ted Timmons. Good pitch, up and away.
Fourth strikeout for Carrasco.
Timmons did a great job, by the way, diffusing that situation. Whatever it might have become, he made sure that it did not. He got himself out there around the catcher and batter. And basically told everybody in the dugout, put his hands up like a traffic cop. Don't come out here. By the way, you see the Buckeyes on the uniforms, Negro League uniforms that Cleveland is wearing today. We have 2 Buckeyes in the umpiring crew. Tim Timmons and James Hoy. Both went to Ohio State. What are the odds of that?
And our producer, Aaron Stoikov, lives in Columbus.
Buckeye Day.
Popped up to the right side. 2 out.
And we talk a lot about paths to the big leagues and major league players. It's just as difficult, if not harder, for the umpires. Tim Timmons was a guy out of college who was working at a country club as a groundskeeper and a chef, putting in 16-hour days to save enough money to go to umpiring school. So the guy who was aerating the greens might have been cooking your filet mignon at a club.
And now he's calling balls and strikes.
Just don't confuse the job. Marinate the greens and aerate the filet.
Right. Miguel Cabrera 0 for 2. Fly to right, struck out.
Following a similar pattern of that last big strikeout. Started him with a fastball. Put him away with 4 consecutive sliders, all in that same location. This is going to be the bullseye about right here.
One hop, it's Kipnis, the first to retire Cabrera.
Bullseye.
1, 2, 3, 5th for Carrasco as things heat up in Detroit. Hashtag for the love of hot dogs. And by Domino's. Order online and track your order. Back in Detroit, Comerica Park. Top of the 6th inning. Baseball Night in America. Roberto Perez leading off against Jordan Zimmerman on the 15th annual Negro Leagues weekend here in Detroit. Tigers and Indians wearing the uniforms of the Detroit Stars and Cleveland Buckeyes. It's the longest running 3-day celebration of its kind in Major League Baseball as we send it over to JP.
Thank you, Kenny. I am here with Minnie Forbes. Now, Minnie, you made history in the Negro Leagues. You played, you owned a team. Can you tell me the story about how you came to own the Detroit Stars?
Well, my uncle Ted Raspberry, of course, had 2 teams in the league, the Detroit Stars and the Kansas City Monarchs. And at that time, the league was going down. There was only 4 teams in the league. So, of course, he couldn't have 2 teams. So that's how I ended up with one of the teams, which was the Detroit Stars in 1956.
So how about the story of you playing third base for the Kansas City Monarchs?
Oh, that story is very interesting. That was, everybody in Grand Rapids knew me, of course, and the Kansas City Monarchs was playing another team in Grand Rapids. So we thought it would be a good idea to let me play in that game with the Kansas City Monarchs and the other team, which I did, third base. I wasn't on the team all the time. This was just, I don't think I would have made it the whole time playing. But let's say I was good enough to play for that game.
And Minnie, when you think about what this weekend represents, what does it mean to you and the other alumni of the Negro Leagues?
Well, this weekend and the other weekends mean an awful lot to me, to know that the Tigers think enough of the Negro League to give us this weekend. And I'm very honored and pleased to be here. And I also love getting together with the other players that played back with the Negro League. It's wonderful.
For all the young children, Minnie, who are here tonight, what do you hope that they take away from this and learn about the Negro Leagues?
I hope they take away to know that there are teams that didn't give up in spite of controversy and in spite of things that happen, and to know that if you're passionate about something, you don't give up, you keep going. And I would also hope that the teams will see the togetherness for the teams, the players that played, and also to know that you keep going, and as I said before, you don't give up in spite of trials and tribulations.
Minnie, thank you so much. It's an honor to speak with you.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, and it's an honor for you to have me. I'm very pleased, and I thank you.
Thanks, Minnie. Kenny, back to you.
All right, thanks, JP. Great stuff. Minnie Forbes, who was honored at the White House by President Obama back in 2013.
I could listen to her all night. What a sweetheart.
And as JP and Minnie were chatting, Perez with a leadoff single to right, Kipnis with a double into the left field corner. So the Indians threatening with runners on second and third, nobody out, and Lindor at the plate.
And what you're seeing is an adjustment against the fastball from Zimmerman. He's been terrific all day, dotting that fastball in the outside corner. Both Perez and Kipnis taking it the other way.
No Indian had been past first base until this inning. The 0-2 from Zimmerman. He strikes out Lindor for the third time tonight.
Now this is the swing I'm seeing too much from Lindor. Now, I don't mind it so much here because a fly ball can get the runner in from third, but watch the loft in this swing. You know, even if he just plays pepper with the middle infielders there, that's a run. Have to put the ball in play there. Too much loft in that swing.
So now 1 out. Here's Brantley. Perez on third. Kipnis takes his lead off second. Zimmerman missing high, ball 1.
If you want to copy a swing in this situation, runner on third, less than 2 outs, this is the swing. Michael Brantley. Dr. Smooth for a reason. That bat gets in the zone early and stays in the zone. Very flat. Now, if you're Zimmerman, you do not want to make a mistake here. Behind 2-0. Don't feel like you have to give in. The base open and 1 out.
Two and 1.
Talked about this in the scouting report out of the windup. He's had more issues. He's better here out of the stretch.
Rip foul down the right field line. Now 2-2 on Brantley.
Well, he did a great job working himself back into the count. I said he didn't have to give in. He did not. The curveball, which Brantley, of course, took, sitting on heater at 2-0, and right there the slider well located on the hands. A whole host of options right here. Probably off speed. Overcooked that fastball a little bit. And this is a big pitch. And the pitcher calls the catcher out. We talked about this, Kenny. They've been on page the whole day. There's something that he definitely wants to throw here. Make no mistake. Too big of a pitch right here not to talk about. This is a long conversation. Let's see if Avila gives a sign here at all with the runner on second base. You've already agreed with the pitcher what you want to throw. You think the runner on second is stealing signs, you give a dummy. Otherwise, you just don't put anything down. Here we go. No sign needed.
Payoff pitch to Brantley. Coming in to score is Perez. So the Indians have tied the game at 1.
That's the third full count slider we've seen from Jordan Zimmerman. And again, that swing of Brantley is just what you want in that situation. I think it even broke the bat, but died a hero in Brantley's book. Yep, right off the end. You see the first thing he does? Did I get me a ribby right there? Yes, you did. Runner scoring from third.
His 31st of the season. Here's Encarnacion. Takes ball 1. Now 2 outs. Kipnis takes his lead off third. Ball 2, says first base umpire James Hoyt. Encarnacion is 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for 4 lifetime against Jordan Zimmerman.
This has become a breaking ball count in the big leagues here. 2-0. And there it is. We used to call them fastball counts, right? 2-0, 3-1. That is not the case anymore. This game is about spin.
Daniel Stumpf up in the Tigers' pen. The 3-0 to Encarnacion in for strike one. Pitch number 92 from Zimmerman tonight. Catching the outside corner, the count is full.
Tim Timmons thought it caught the outside corner. I didn't. Avila set up outside and backhands this ball. That's telling me that is out of the strike zone. You see a catcher backhand a ball like that. Now you've got a wider plate to cover if you're Encarnacion.
Encarnacion gets the bat on it, a bloop single. It's a shallow right field, scoring Kipnis. The Indians take a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, you see him grinning there. Yeah, he's covering a wider plate right here. The slider fights it off. I guess turnabout is fair play. We saw Matuk dunk one out there for a base hit and RBI single.
.43rd run batted in for Encarnacion. Indians with their first lead of the night. Jose Ramirez 0 for 2. Ramirez with a drive. Deep right field. 4-1 Indians. His 13th home run of the season. Tom, do you think that pitch that hit Santana in the 5th inning woke up the Indians?
You know, I thought great approach throughout this inning. All 3 hits were to the opposite field. And then ambush city right there by Ramirez. We talked at the top about Jordan Zimmerman. The fault this year has been fastball command, and that has happened too often.
He allowed only 1 hit over the first 5 innings, but the Indians have scored 4 here in the 6th. Ramirez goes deep. 4-1 Cleveland. 4 runs in the inning for the Indians. 26-year-old left-hander Daniel Stumpf on the relief of Jordan Zimmerman, who did not allow a run, only 1 hit over the first 5 innings. Exits following the Ramirez home run. Stumpf pitched the 3rd of inning in the opener earlier today. Carlos Santana took him deep. Santana in the on-deck circle. Should Chisenhall reach?
Well, when you play Cleveland, you better have good left-handed relief. A lot of good left-handed hitters in the lineup. You want to turn Santana around the bat right-handed. So as a lefty reliever facing Cleveland in a series, you know you're going to see a lot of work. Here's his pitch. This could have been a 2-seamer that just runs back into the barrel. Yeah, Ramirez, you saw Avila set up inside corner, and it started on inside corner instead of winding up on inside corner.
Chisenhall draws a 2-out walk.
It happened quickly for Jordan Zimmerman, didn't it? Only twice this year he's been out there past the 6th inning. That wasn't a case of a tire leaking air. I didn't see any warning signs there. That was like you hit a pothole, the tire goes flat all of a sudden.
So here's Santana, who was hit by that pitch from Zimmerman in the 5th inning. Zimmer then grounded into a double play. As we mentioned, Santana with a home run in the first game today off Stumpf in the 7th inning. Santana's home run tied the game at 4. The Tigers would then score 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th. Right field, and that will end the inning. The Indians score 4 runs on 4 hits. Number 13 off the bat of Jose Ramirez to chase Jordan Zimmerman. In Detroit, with the Indians now leading the Tigers 4-1. Carlos Carrasco pitching with the lead for the first time, facing Nick Castellanos, who doubled, came around to score in the second, and then struck out in the third.
By the way, in talking about paths to the big league, Carlos Carrasco's path to the big league. He actually left at age 10. He left his family at age 10 to live with a baseball coach. Saw his parents on weekends. Well, it worked out. He got signed by the Phillies at the age of 16, $300,000. They sent him to Clearwater, his first spring training from Venezuela. Didn't speak a word of English. For 90 consecutive days, 90 days straight, he ordered Domino's pizza for dinner. He ate so much pizza, the chain gave him an award for being their best customer. And you know what the award was?
A free pizza?
A free month of pizza. Just exactly what you need after eating pizza for dinner 90 straight nights.
90 straight nights. That's impressive.
All of spring training. And last year, he was very proud to say, he became a citizen, a United States citizen.
Two and two on Castellanos. Leading off for the Tigers here in the bottom of the sixth.
Kinsler picked that ball. Yeah, I'm impressed, Ian. One-handed, Joe Cool.
Barehanded, no glove.
That's a middle infielder. You're not seeing a pitcher do that. No offense to pitchers, of course.
Castellanos down on strikes, and for more on the pizza-loving U.S. citizen Carlos Carrasco. Down to JP.
Well, Kenny, his nickname in the Indians clubhouse is Cookie. So one more food item you might find at a ballpark. And according to Paul Hoynes, the Cleveland Plain dealer, he got that nickname because former Cleveland closer Chris Perez once saw him eating cookies and milk in the clubhouse. True story.
Well, it was either cookies or pizza, I guess.
I guess Cookie Carrasco sounds good. Pizza Carrasco, nah, that doesn't work.
When the Indians tweeted out their lineup for the game tonight, they had the players listed in the batting order with their position, and then in the 10th spot it just said Cookie.
It's not the most intimidating nickname in the world for a pitcher.
Victor Martinez flies out to Brantley for out number 2.
How about on this date, a couple of years ago, Cookie's got a no-hitter with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th inning. Are you kidding me? Joey Butler, the base hit. Oh man, he's able to smile about it somehow. Well, you talk about being on the doorstep of history. You got the welcome mat pulled out from under you right there.
So that was on July 1st, 2015, 2 years ago today.
I wonder if he thought about that today coming to the ballpark.
The Indians did have a no-hitter on this date. Not in 15, but in 51. Bob Feller, July 1st, 1951, his 3rd career no-hitter. It was against the Tigers.
Wow. Hey, and you talk about droughts, right? World Championship droughts. No one's got a longer one right now than Cleveland. How about no-hit droughts? Only the Padres, never had one, have waited longer to see a no-no.
There's the no-hitter we just mentioned. Bob Feller on this date 66 years ago today.
Wow. And he has a relative playing on the Tigers team right now, Matt Boyd. His grandmother, cousins with Bob Feller.
Added to the roster for this doubleheader. Both teams allowed to add a 26th player.
Hey, even if you get that service time and the meal money for one day, you don't get in the game, it's pretty good to be the 26th man.
Boyd actually started twice this year against Carrasco. Both of Carrasco's prior starts against the Tigers, he was opposed by Matthew Boyd.
Another 2-strike count here. He's held hitters today, 2 for 13 in 2-strike counts. We said going in, the best in the American League, tied with Corey Kluber at 110 in 2-strike counts. And almost all of these 2-strike counts have been ended with sliders. Missed with that one. Slider is almost Sergio Romo-like. As a hitter, you know what's coming, but the break is so late and so severe, it's hard to stay off it. Now he's telling him to shake, and he's going back to the ball away.
Marchuk pops it up. Catch is made by the third baseman Ramirez. Carrasco has retired 7 in a row. We move to the 7th.
Talk about Carlos Carrasco making right-handed hitters uncomfortable. Check out these off-balance, awkward swings, most of them on sliders down and away. Came into this game holding right-handers to .213 batting average. When you face Detroit, you better neutralize all the right-handed power in the lineup. Carlos Carrasco did that.
Our Budweiser game summary. Carrasco's allowed only 1 run in 6 innings. Zimmerman did not allow a run over the first 5. Ran into trouble in the 6th, including a 2-run homer off the bat of Jose Ramirez. Alex Wilson out of the Tigers' pen. There's Carrasco. Wilson, the right-hander, making his 37th appearance, facing Bradley Zimmer, who struck out in the 3rd, grounded into a double play in the 5th.
Now, it may seem odd to have stumped the lefty out of the game with Zimmer starting this inning, but Alex Wilson actually a reverse split guy, especially with that hard cutter he throws in on the hands of left-handed hitters. He's held lefties to a .213 batting average. Right-handers fared better against Wilson than lefties. 'He also had Stump working in the 1st game as well, so to ask him to sit down after finishing last inning and come back again, bigger ask. And that was a good picture of that, what that cutter does to the lefties. The way it keeps diving in on left-handed hitters. Watch this ball keep working in on him. He's going to foul this down off his foot. That happens a lot against Wilson. You get the top of the baseball out in front as the ball starts to dive under the bat. Usually it's the front foot. That's the one he's got protected.
Two and two on Bradley Zimmer. Leading off for the Indians. Here in the top of the 7th, Cleveland with a 4-1 lead. Kinsler, 1 out. You may have noticed the bandage on Wilson's nose. He recently had a biopsy for a sunspot, and he has to keep his nose covered for at least a week. Skin cancer runs in his family. He said his dad has probably had between 30 and 50 spots removed. He said, "I'm from a family of redheads. It is what it is."
Yep, fair-haired, fair skin. Of course, that goes for everybody to be careful, stay on top of those things.
So with 1 out, here's Roberto Perez. Single came around to score in the 6th inning. Tigers scored their run in the 2nd. Indians 4 runs in the 6th off Jordan Zimmerman. Brantley and Encarnacion drove in runs, and then the Ramirez 2-run shot.
This is a good spot to throw that cutter I was talking about. Again, 2-0-3-1. 10 years ago, you're getting a fastball. Hitter knew it, pitcher knew it. Now the thinking is, okay, if you really think I'm throwing a fastball, I'll cut the pitch, just get it off the barrel enough to get weak contact. In this case, he wants contact off the end of the bat.
Perez pops it up into shallow left field. 2 away as Romine makes the play. Watch the greatest names in golf tee off at Salem Country Club for the final round of the U.S. Senior Open tomorrow, 1 Eastern on your local Fox station, or you can watch it all live on Fox Sports Go.
It's a battle going on there. Kirk Triplett, Kenny Perry, separated by 1 stroke. Going to the final round.
Catch it tomorrow on Fox. Here's Kipnis. And he grounds out to the first baseman, Cabrera. A 1-2-3 7th for Alex Wilson. 7th inning stretch time in Detroit. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Spirit of Detroit statue. Baseball night in America. Indians with a 4-1 lead. Bottom of the 7th inning. Carlos Carrasco is allowed a run on just 4 hits. Andrew Romine leading off for the Tigers. Romine 0 for 2.
I'll admit I was a little surprised to see Carrasco go back out here for the 7th. Entering this inning at 104 pitches. Season high is 113. As you mentioned, he's been on a roll.
Nice play by Santana. The toss to Carrasco to retire Romine.
8 straight outs. Seems to be getting better as the game goes on.
So 8 straight for Carrasco. Tom, you're in North Carolina on Monday down in Winston-Salem, and congratulations on your 3rd consecutive National Sports Writer of the Year award.
Thank you very much. That's a real honor, especially I found out that there's only been, I think, 5 other people who've won 3 consecutive years in a row. 2 were there. Frank DeFord recently passed away. Rick Riley, Bob Ryan, Red Smith. I mean, you're talking about murderer's row of sports writers when you're talking about names like that. So that's clearly an honor, voted by my colleagues and peers. So that's especially meaningful.
Some very impressive company. Vince Scully named the National Sportscaster of the Year.
And he was named California Sportscaster of the Year for the 33rd time.
Only 33?
So 3 in a row for me. What's the big deal about that?
I'd love to see his trophy room.
I think it's called a wing, not a room.
So a three-peat for Tom. You try and make it 4 in a row next year. A lot to live up to.
I just try to stay within myself and take it one day at a time.
2 away, Iglesias down on strikes. You could try and go for both awards, sports writer and sportscaster.
Yeah, let's not get carried away now, Kenny.
9 in a row for Carrasco. He's at 109 pitches. His season high is 113. Career high 124. Terry Francona will be busy during the All-Star break. Indians are the defending American League champions. So he will be in Miami, managing the American League squad for the 3rd time. Twice as Boston Red Sox skipper. And we asked Terry about some of his biggest memories, and he brought up the 2008 All-Star game at the old Yankee Stadium after the Red Sox had won the World Series in 2007. And he said it was so cool when numerous Hall of Famers were introduced. 2 or 3 ran out to every position prior to the game. He said the best teammate he ever had was Robin Yount, and he did not get the opportunity to chat with him before the All-Star game in 2008. But he said around the 3rd inning, he was in the dugout and he was given a hug from behind. Somebody came up the tunnel into the dugout. Turned out it was Robin Yount.
I forgot that Terry played for the Brewers. But I've never forgotten what a great player and teammate Robin Yount was. I remember asking Cal Ripken one time, playing shortstop, you know who runs a hard 90 feet every time when the ground ball is hit to you. Who are the guys that really stand out or always ran hard? He said Robin Yount and Dave Winfield.
Kinsler strikes out to end the inning. So Carrasco has retired 10 in a row. We head to the 8th. America, Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, JP Morosi. A 4-1 lead for Carlos Carrasco and the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, he knew he was out. He knew that was his last inning, and my goodness, that might have been his most impressive inning of the night. You talk about seeing the finish line and sprinting through it. Retired the last 10 batters he faced.
Season high 114 pitches for Carrasco.
And that's a good example of a manager paying attention to what he's watching rather than just knee-jerk reaction. Hey, he's at 104. Let's get him out. The ease in which he had flown through the 2 previous innings, I think, convinced Terry Francona he's still good. And boy, did he consolidate that opinion with a great 7th inning.
4th pitcher of the game for the Tigers is the 27-year-old from down under, Warwick Saupold, facing Francisco Lindor. He's happy to see Zimmerman out of the game. Jordan Zimmerman struck out Lindor 3 times tonight.
And he had a pitch right there to hit. Fastball in the middle. What did he do? He got underneath it again.
Indians scoring 4 runs in the 6th inning off Zimmerman. Tigers won the opener earlier today 7-4. But they trail the Indians in the nightcap 4-1.
Now Lindor has flied out to the pole field more times this year already than he did all of last year. And right now he's searching for something. Right now he'd take one of those opposite field bloops Encarnacion had. Made it look easy when he first came up, didn't he? The guy brought up to the big leagues and everybody knew his glove was ready. Weren't sure about the bat. Well, he quickly dispelled that scouting report. Hit from day one up until now.
Center field, mounted back, can't get to it. Extra bases for Lindor after striking out in his first 3 plate appearances. He's in with the leadoff double here in the 8th.
That's the gold standard right there. Watch this swing. Watch him stay level through the baseball. Fastball up. He just had fouled the other pitch back almost the same location. Better pass to the baseball right there. Absolutely. The lower finish. We saw him before when he struck out. The hands were much higher. The bat was above the shoulder on the finish. That was more Michael Brantley-esque. Copy and save that one, Frankie Lindor.
Speaking of Brantley, 1 for 3, drove in a run back in the 6th inning, the first of 4 Indians runs in that inning. Fastball in for strike 1. One ball, 1 strike, no outs, top of the 8th inning. Lindor takes his lead off second with the Indians on top 4-1. Montook, 1 out. So now Encarnacion singled hit a run in the 6th, came around to score. first season with the Indians. You look at his numbers, Tom, since 2012. Over the last 5 full seasons plus the first 3 months this year. Second in all of Major League Baseball in both home runs and runs batted in. Only Chris Davis has hit more home runs. Only Miguel Cabrera has driven in more runs.
He swung so hard right there. He was checking his left hand. Came off the bat. I think he's okay. There's the list. What I like about Encarnacion, like Miguel Cabrera, he can do that damage without a lot of strikeouts. High-end slugger, very good at making contact. Softball's got that really nasty slider. Encarnacion's been out in front, and that bottom hand looks like it's been coming off the handle of the bat. Watch the bottom hand right here as that slider works away. A lot of power hitters you'll see will wrap that pinky, bottom pinky, around the knob of the bat. And a lot of hitters don't like that because it's a good way, or an eventual way, to break the hamate bone in the hand. It takes a lot of stress. He's right on the knob.
Encarnacion called out on strikes, 2 away.
Great two-seam fastball. This is a ball off the plate until the very end it's not. Right-handed hitter gives up on that. Great side-to-side movement. Softball's got good stuff. When you can make the ball move in both directions at a very similar speed, very deceptive to a hitter.
Encarnacion sits down. Ramirez to the plate. Lindor takes his lead off second with 2 outs. Top of the 8th inning in Detroit. First pitch to Ramirez, missing away, ball 1. Ramirez, the big blow in the 6th inning after the Indians took a 2-1 lead, his 13th of the season, to chase Jordan Zimmerman.
Well, he doesn't consider himself a power hitter. What he is a very good hitter with power.
Ground ball to the first baseman, Cabrera. Middle of the 8th in Detroit. Indians with a 4-1 advantage. Sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Well, next Saturday, 7 Eastern on Fox, Andrew McCutcheon and the Pirates battled Anthony Rizzo and the Cubs. Check local listings for the Fox game in your area. Then the Cincinnati Reds take on Paul Goldschmidt and the Diamondbacks at 10 Eastern only on FS1. Carlos Carrasco, outstanding. Retired the last 10 Tigers he faced. Saves in 16 opportunities for Cleveland this season. 44 strikeouts in 31 innings for Allen, as he will face Alex Avila leading off for the Tigers, bottom of the 8th, trailing by 3.
Ever dive into a pool and yell out jackknife? That was it right there. Cody Allen's got one of the best curveballs in the big leagues. Power curveball. And Alex Avila does all he can to avoid it.
Now 1-1. We spoke about Terry Francona and his memories managing a couple of prior All-Star games. We asked Brad Auspis about the '99 All-Star game. He played 18 years in the major leagues. There's Brad. And he went to one Midsummer Classic representing the Tigers in '99 in Boston. Remember, Ted Williams was on the field prior to the game, surrounded by the All-Stars, the All-Century team on hand at Fenway Park that night.
Please welcome the greatest hitter that ever lived, number 9, Hall of Famer, baseball legend, Ted Williams.
Well, Brad Auspis told us that was his biggest memory, seeing Ted Williams out on the field along with all of his fellow All-Stars. He said the home run derby was exciting. Ken Griffey Jr. won it that year. Brad grounded out at his only All-Star at bat against Kevin Millwood in the 6th inning of that game.
You know, the best thing about that ceremony, it was just so organic. In fact, the Major League Baseball officials were trying to get the game started, and that gathering around Ted happened just very organically. All the players started to gather around him, and they did not want to leave. And you had Ted Williams there talking to Mark McGuire and Tony Gwynn. And I remember Mark saying that Ted asked him, when you fouled the ball back, did you ever smell the wood burning? And that's certainly a lot of great hitters have talked about, that you do smell. Could be from the seams, the friction on the bat, or just the bat itself, with a little bit of a burning smell. Nobody was better at the craft of hitting and talking hitting than Ted Williams.
Brad Auspis also told us, he said every player should experience at least one All-Star game. And then he paused and he said, well, maybe not, because then it wouldn't be as special as it is.
Well, think about it. We talked to Corey Kluber tonight earlier and asked him as a kid, what's the memory you have of the All-Star game? He brought up the same game, 1999. Memories that last a lifetime, that cover all generations.
Payoff pitch to Avila, missing high. A leadoff walk issued by Cody Allen here in the bottom of the 8th. July 11th on Fox, this year's MLB All-Star Game in Miami. We will have 13 on-field microphones installed beneath the playing surface in Miami. 33 game cameras. You won't miss a thing.
And the best thing, something will happen in that game that we don't expect. A memory waiting to happen.
And you will be on hand in one of the dugouts.
I will. That's going to be so much fun. We talked a lot tonight about the young generation of players, the home runs in the game. It's the true showcase. You know, Major League Baseball has the stage to itself during that week of the summer. No other sports really happening on that Tuesday night. Showcase for the game, but especially for the young stars.
And this year, the All-Star game will not determine which league has home field advantage in the World Series. So it will
have a different flavor.
A different feel.
Absolutely. As a kid, I was always interested in checking out the swag. You know, guys who normally wouldn't wear white shoes can wear white shoes in the All-Star game. There'll be a lot of flavor in this game. It's Miami. The ballpark's got flavor.
Two to Martinez. Now 2-1.
Terry Francona knows he's so lucky to have both Andrew Miller and Cody Allen. He told us he was concerned that he was running up the innings of Andrew Miller a little bit too high early in the season. And Cody Allen, his closer, came to him and said, Skip, you can use me for multiple innings. Let me pick up some of his innings.
Down the right field line. Drops in foul territory.
So the unselfishness of both Miller and Allen, besides just the quality of their stuff, they're just flat and nasty, is why that guy has such a great back end of the bullpen. Well, the whole bullpen. Best in baseball. Curveball yet. It's amazing to me. I thought Cody always had a great curveball, but he said really didn't have a feel for it until his twin brother, who was pitching at the University of West Tampa, showed him his grip, which is more like a spike curveball. And ever since then, he's had a great curveball. Twin brothers, twin curveballs.
Called strike 3.
Pitch. Great location with the fastball. See Martinez looking out over the plate. Thinks that's in. That's on the plate.
So with one away, here's Cabrera. 0 for 3 tonight. Tigers trailing by 3. Leadoff walk to Avila. Allen struck out J.D. Martinez. First pitch to Cabrera. Ball 1.
Now this is going to shock you, Kenny. Miguel Cabrera is one of the best, I think, breaking ball hitters in the big leagues. He's so on balance. We talked about how he lets the ball travel, doesn't get out in front. This season, the entire season, he has 1 hit off a curveball.
Wow.
He's hitting .042 against curveballs. I cannot figure that out for the life of me. I guarantee you that's not going to last.
Cabrera 5 for 15 lifetime against Cody Allen. Avila, the runner on first, 1 out.
Last year he hit .352 against curveballs.
Wow. And this year, 1 hit.
Well, I would think he's going to get a curveball right here. Got a good pass in the fastball right there. I just can't explain this. He's too good of a hitter and too good of an off-speed hitter for those numbers to continue.
Now the 2-1 from Allen. 2-2.
Mickey loves to check with the first base umpire, but in this case, Tim Timmons had the call behind the plate. He said, no, that's a strike. It's a high strike, but it's a strike. I'll never forget the line Jimmy Leland said about Miguel Cabrera. He has a great face.
Cabrera now 0 for 4. Now a visit from pitching coach Mickey Callaway. MLB.TV every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. There's Andrew Miller in the Indians' pen.
It's a curious visit. Cody Allen did most of the talking right there.
Nick Castellanos at the plate. Runner on first, 2 outs. Castellanos 1 for 3. Struck out his last 2 times up. He doubled and came around to score the Indians' only run back in the 2nd inning.
About this conversation over here, you think that had anything to do with that pitch Jordan Zimmerman threw that brought on the warnings and emptied the dugouts?
Well, it did seem to spur on the Indians. They scored 4 in the next inning. The 1-1 to Castellanos, in for strike 2. This is what you reference, Tom, back in the 5th inning.
Avila, obviously the catcher right there. Make sure he gets out between Santana and Zimmerman.
Meanwhile, the Tigers have not had a base hit since the 4th inning. Carrasco retired the last 10 batters he faced. There's Cabrera, who struck out a moment ago. 23rd pitch of the inning from Cody Allen. Right field, Chisenhall. We head to the 9th. On Baseball Night in America with the Indians leading the Tigers 4-1. America 4-1 Indians. Kenny Albert, Tom Verducci, and JP Morosi. Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball.
This, to me, was the turning point. You're already down 1 run, 3rd inning, 2 runners on. Cabrera and Castellano, what do you do if you're Carrasco? You throw 8 consecutive sliders. That's right, 8 consecutive sliders, all basically perfectly thrown down and away. I don't think I've seen that before, but when you got a slider like that, why not? Hitters came in batting just 109. 109 against the Carrasco slider.
5th pitcher of the evening for the Tigers, the 28-year-old left-hander Chad Bell. Chisenhall lines out to Ian Kinsler for out number 1. Ninth appearance of the season for Bell. Here's Carlos Santana, hit by that pitch from Zimmerman back in the 5th inning. The Indians would then score 4 runs on 4 hits in the 6th. Aside from that 6th inning, the Indians only have 2 other base hits tonight.
Three opposite field hits in that inning, and then the big blow, the home run by Ramirez. You know, I know the Indians are not, let's face it, basically getting to the half point of the season tomorrow numerically, not exactly where they want to be. But I know this, when Kluber and Carrasco get the baseball, there's nothing wrong with them. They're as good as any team in baseball. They came into today 20-7 when those two guys start, and 22-30 when anybody else starts. So their starting rotation numbers not good this year, but that's deceptive. Nothing wrong with the top 2. Kluber right there.
And you mentioned it, Tom, during our open. Coming into this game, Indians 12-3 in Carrasco's 15 starts this season, including wins in 9 of the last 10. Looking to make it 10 of 11. Bounce to Castellanos. Fires across. And throw could not be handled by Cabrera. One out base runner for the Indians. Castellanos commits his 14th error.
Yeah, watch him just get underneath this ball. Most throwing errors from the third baseman are arm side because they just don't get on top of the baseball. And you get that two-seam movement where the ball just runs away from the first baseman. It's very easy. When you're playing third base, it's like being a fireman. You do a lot of sitting around, nothing happening, and all of a sudden you better be ready for an emergency. And he's been out there literally all day, right? The second game we've had today has had very few chances over there. Then the ball finds you hours later. Not making excuses, because that's just life as a third baseman. Be ready.
His 14th error, most committed by a major league third baseman. Only 9 all of last season.
Well, he's got to clean that up. You know, we saw in the first game, he came off the field with a lead late in the game. Brad Ausmus's wanting his best defense out there. Terrific offensive upside. And as Brad told us, the defensive part of the game still needs work.
Bradley Zimmer 0 for 3. We have not had the opportunity to see his speed on the base paths tonight. The 1-2 from Bell. And Zimmer, for the second time tonight, rounds into a double play. So we move to the bottom of the 9th with the Indians leading the Tigers by 3. By the Detroit Tigers. Tremendous during the postseason last October for the Indians. On to try and close things out. Terry Francona using Cody Allen in the 8th inning tonight. Allen with 15 saves. Miller only one this season.
I don't think it really matters. I know, right-handed against the middle of that Detroit lineup, certainly, with Victor Martinez batting now, scuffling so that he's not protecting Miguel Cabrera. You get the 3 righties in a row that lined up perfectly for Cody Allen. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter with those guys left and right. Miller is just a nightmare, no matter what side of the plate you hit from.
Victor Martinez leads off with the Tigers trailing 4-1. Martinez 0 for 3 tonight. And 0 for 7 lifetime against Andrew Miller. Martinez rips this one foul. Great job by our entire crew tonight here in Detroit, led by producer Aaron Stoikov, director John Moore, our technical producer Sid Drexler, technical director Gabe Bell, associate director Gilbert Zepeda, broadcast associate Sam Younger, Marty Aronoff crunching the numbers along with Chris Muskoff and Greg Innes. Off the fist, center field, Zimmer, 1 out. Baseball's 2 biggest events of the summer, back-to-back. The action starts at the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN July 10th at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Then catch baseball's biggest stars at the 88th All-Star Game, presented by MasterCard, July 11th, right here on Fox. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. With 1 away, here's Matuk. Has 2 hits tonight. Drove in a run back in the 2nd. The only Tigers run. Left center. And a diving catch is made by Zimmer for out number 2. What a play.
That is unbelievable. Not only the distance that he ran, but the leap to extend that 6'5" body. Didn't think there was a chance he could close ground. But he actually propels himself off the ground. It wasn't just a dive. Watch him propel himself here to get that last push on the baseball. Wow.
And somehow he held on to it. Well, Terry Francona told us yesterday that Zimmer would be in his lineup for all 3 games of this series. He said he is built for this ballpark.
Taylor made right there, room to roam. Matuk can't believe it.
That will do it. Miller strikes out Romine. An 8-pitch save for Andrew Miller, helped out by his center fielder, Bradley Zimmer, who made a brilliant catch for the 2nd out of the inning. For Tom Verducci, JP Morosi, and our entire crew, this is Kenny Albert saying good night from Detroit. Indians win it 4-1. They split the doubleheader. We'll send you out to Los Angeles. Kevin, Dontrell, and Nick after these messages.